Hello and welcome back to Ruben Gets. I'm sitting on the couch, which means I'm either talking to someone online or I'm about to watch an uncomfortably long video. And I'm going to be real here, I don't know if I'm going to watch this in one sitting. This might be a two-parter. We'll see what happens. But I'm here to see Dave Rubin surrounded. Now, Dave Rubin is someone who I have not looked at a lot. And the thing about Dave Rubin and why I haven't looked at him a lot is because I don't think Dave Rubin is particularly good, relevant, interesting, or smart. To be fair, a lot of people doing what he does are not smart. In fact, I would describe Dave Rubin as slow. Imagine if a literal snail were delivering a handwritten letter to you. That's how slow Dave Rubin is. And yes, I do mean cognitively. Just from watching him in various things. I don't think Dave Rubin's very smart. Which is why this might be fun. This fucking video is over an hour and 41 minutes long. Which is why I might do this in more than one sitting. But I'm going to record for now my initial reactions. Like I said, this might be a two-parter. We'll see where it goes. We're going to skip this intro yet first, though. Jesus. All right, let's just go right to claim number one.
Is that wokeism did more damage to America than Trump ever did.
All right, if you would...
Jesus Christ, I hate it already. I hate it already. Wokeism, not a fucking word. To be woke means to be aware of systemic oppressions and inequalities as that are part of the system itself. That is what it means to be woke. So let's see how if you even on its face, when you understand that is what woke means, and you have to start asking the question, how is that bad? He will not justify it. Also, I'm betting that the first thing people are going to do here is just call him out on the fact that that is nonsense.
Would like to debate this claim, please get to the center in 3, 2, 1.
He's quick.
Yes, I am. So I find it interesting that you think wokeism has done so much damage to America as opposed to Donald Trump. Wokeism did not kick 17 million Americans off of their health insurance through Medicaid. Wokeism didn't start a disastrous war with Iran that has now led to inflation outpacing wage growth. Wokeism hasn't ripped up institutions or attempted even to destroy free speech, even by your standards, because Ronald Reagan appointed judge ruled that the Trump administration was violating the First Amendment by attempting to deport, arrest, and detain students and faculty members on college campuses for protesting for Palestine. Wokeism, to me, it doesn't even have remotely as...
There you go, this fact check over here. Reagan appointed Judge William G. Young of the U.S. District Court, the District of Massachusetts, ruled on September 29th through 30th. I don't know why it takes more than one day to do a ruling. 2025 in AAUP v. Rubio that Trump administration ideological deportation policy, arresting and detaining and seeking to deport non-citizen students and faculty for pro-Palestinian campus advocacy violated the First Amendment. I don't know why we need a fact check when it's true.
Disastrous as a track record as Donald Trump.
Well, how would you define wokeism? I guess we should start with that.
I think wokeism is a pejorative term that's used to describe left-wing cultural politics.
Right, and what do you think left-wing cultural politics are?
I'd say left-wing cultural politics include just...
Actually, that is not a good enough... I mean, technically what he said is true, but, it gives Dave Rubin a little bit too much leverage to work with, in my opinion, going with that. But Dave Rubin still probably doesn't know shit, so we'll see what happens.
The broad attitudes towards social justice, especially for minority groups that have faced persecution in various ways.
Okay, so I think the simplest way to define wokeism is basically collectivism on steroids, and usually as it applies to
What?
race and gender, meaning that you should be judged based on the color.
Yeah, that's right. You give him that look. You give him that look back there, because what he's saying is stupid.
You actually should be judged based on the color of your skin and your sexuality and your gender and a whole bunch of immutable characteristics. And depending on where those fall on the left's kind of hierarchy of importance, that's kind of how you can parse out where people should be and how important their ideas are.
So even assuming your characterization to be an accurate characterization, which I don't necessarily take,
right?
Can you give me,
we're going to have a lot of trouble getting to a fair agreement on
that
wokeism.
wokeism has, for example, skyrocketed inflation to outpace wage growth, the way that Donald Trump's war of aggression on Iran has done? Can you demonstrate that wokeism has violated the First Amendment by arresting students and faculty members on college campuses?
Okay, well, yeah.
That's it. Go after material effects of wokeism. I wouldn't put money on necessarily, but I bet he can't. I bet Dave Rubin can't do that.
Yes, I can. So let's start. Well, first off, the disastrous war, the quote-unquote disastrous war that you're talking about. You're talking about a 40-day military operation that stopped an apocalyptic,
literally still happening,
regime from getting a nuclear bomb and exporting terrorism throughout the world. And we're now in an economic embargo of them, right? We've basically done a blockade of the Strait of Hormuz. So to say it's a disastrous war,
we've done a blockade.
We did lose. Hang on.
It's disastrous because its effects on us, our country, and the global economy have been fucking terrible. This isn't our Dave.
Hang on, we did lose 13. We did lose 13 of our soldiers, and that is
and killed over
terrible.
200 children.
But things happen in war, right?
Yeah.
Things.
That's such a non-answer. Oh, this lady back here is mad about it too, though. That's fun. Oh no, this thing happened in war that was bad, but bad things happen in war. Therefore, it's not an argument. Not an argument at all.
Yeah. Well, things do happen in war. You can laugh at that. Hold on. Listen, you want to talk?
I agree. But that's why war should be a last option. If Donald Trump wanted to prevent the Islamic Republic of Iran from obtaining a nuclear weapon, he could have just stuck with the Iran nuclear deal that he ripped up. Iran did not enrich past the 3.67. Wait, they didn't enrich past the 3.67% agreed upon in the JCPOA. They only got to 60% after Donald Trump left that deal and then started doing aggressive actions.
I must say, I'm impressed with your talking points. You got impressive talking points, and you memorized them well. They're not correct, but I am impressed.
Okay.
First off, the Iranians admitted in the negotiations right before the war started that they were enriching past what they were allowed to. That's number one. Number two.
Not a response to what he said. Not a response to what he said. His point was that they did not start doing that until after Donald Trump destroyed the treaty.
You also have to go on the assumption. You also have to go. Hold on. Hold on. You also have to go on the assumption or acceptance that can you agree or verify their claim?
The IAEA report and U.S. analysis show Iran did not enrich uranium beyond the JCPOA's 3.67% limit until after Trump pulled the U.S. out of the nuclear deal. Iran started exceeding that cap in 2019 in response to the withdrawal. Dave.
It's one thing to say, oh, this is what we're doing, this is what we are agreed to, etc. But you have to be able to verify that. And the idea that we have people.
The thing is that without a treaty, there's no reason they can't increase the uranium. Like, that's the purpose of a treaty, is to put in those limits. It's like saying, oh, there's no law about it, but we're mad.
People on the ground or the UN or some third-party organization that can verify what they're actually doing with underground nuclear sites and a whole bunch of other things is I would say, quite a leap of faith, right? You want to trust but verify.
Can I respond to that?
Sure.
So the IA...
I'm sorry, you ended a sentence where you literally undermined the capacity of the people who would verify, to end a sentence with trust but verify. Jesus Christ, Dave.
IAEA and U.S. intelligence said that Iran did not enrich past the 3.67% prior to Donald Trump ripping up and stepping out of the Iran nuclear deal in I believe it was 2017, 2018.
So again,
when he did that.
In these negotiations,
because Donald Trump ripped up the Iran nuclear deal to begin with, that's the only reason why.
Let's try it a different way. I'll try it a different way.
The IAEA assessments agree with me, and Tulsi Gabbard, our director of national intelligence, testified in front of Congress last year, and according to the entire intelligence community, Iran did not have a nuclear weapons program.
Okay. That they didn't have a nuclear weapons program, they were enriching past the point that they were allowed to.
But that's not the only reason you would do that, just so you know.
For civilian use. Everyone knows that. But allow me.
But do you understand
allow
a
me to
weaponization
roughly,
process is different than
let me ask
just
you,
enriching?
do you think the Iranian regime, before this war,
In her March 2020 intelligence testimony, Tulsi Gabbard said U.S. intelligence agencies concluded Iran was not currently building a nuclear weapon and had not restarted its pre-2003 nuclear weapons program. She later clarified that Iran's highly enriched uranium stockpile could produce a nuclear weapon within weeks to months if the order was given to build one. So this is a lot like saying, hey, you have rat poison in your house. You could theoretically murder your husband. Just because you have rat poison in your house doesn't mean you're going to murder your husband. This fact check technically implies that there's a little bit of truth on both sides, but that guy's points are essentially accurate.
The Iranian regime that has oppressed the people of Iran for 40 years, do you think that was a good regime? Would you say that was a good government? Would you like to live under those people? Were they progressive in any way? Do they hold any of the values that any of you guys hold?
No. I just want to say, I fucking hate it when conservatives do this. I fucking hate it when conservatives do this. That's not the point. Like, that is not the reason that you don't want to go to war with someone. The reason to not go to war with something has nothing to do with do my values align with theirs. We don't go to war over that. We don't. That's not a good reason. Being anti-war in Iran or caring that a school full of children was bombed to hell has nothing to do with believing in Iran's values. It's fucking annoying. It's not a real talking point. It's just you trying to make the other side seem hypocritical because they don't want to kill the same people as you. It's dumb, Dave. Dumb.
But we don't just start wars on countries whose politics we disagree with or who are oppressive to their own people. We were actually an ally to Saudi Arabia, and Mohammed bin Salman ripped up.
That I agree with. You don't do that.
Okay,
we're also allies.
Then why would you bring it up, Dave? Then what's the point you're trying to make, Dave? That's not a. If that's not. Oh my God! Look at that smug fucking look on his face right now. That is the most punchable face I've ever seen anyone make.
All right, we got something.
We got something with Israel that has committed gross human rights violations in Gaza.
I'm shocked that Israel came up. Israel, the only place that has any of the progressive values that any of you guys share.
Really?
Yeah.
They don't. I'm just going to say that. Like, Israel only appears to have those things because of their closeness to Western culture, which is actually what they have. The reality is that Israel exists in a right-wing authoritarian government as it operates under Netanyahu, a man who attempted to consolidate the judicial branch into the executive branch, which is a sign of fascism.
This is actually, this is perfect. This is perfect because one of the things that you told me at the beginning of this conversation was that wokeism was judging people based on characteristics and collective thought. Israel is literally centered around the prioritization of the Jewish people as a matter of policy. That is literally collectivist thought. So you must hate Israel too. You must think that that's the ultimate form of collective identity, right?
Ooh. Oh my God, Dave, you have to understand that this is devastating. This is a devastating statement because it shows that your actual belief system is empty and entirely based on vibes.
How many Muslim countries are there? How many Muslim countries
so you're just pivoting?
No, I'm going to answer.
But wait, is Israel collectivist?
How many Muslim countries are there?
I'm sure there are a lot of Muslim countries.
You have
because
any idea?
There are a lot more Muslims than Jews.
Yeah, well, just ballpark. How many Muslim countries are there?
I would probably maybe say let's say between 10 to 20 maybe.
All right, you're off by about 40. There's about 52 or 53 Muslim countries. In any of those,
I don't think they're all very large though. Like, you've heard of almost all the biggest Muslim countries. I'm sure there's a bunch of little ones in Africa. That has to be where they are. Just based on what I know. I mean, there's probably some Middle Eastern countries that I'm not immediately thinking about because they don't show up in the news a lot.
Those countries, how's it going for minorities, women, gays, Christians, Jews?
Yeah, I can say that other nations, it's extraordinarily repressive.
Just so you know, people in those groups do not do well in any non-secular society. So what's your fucking point, Dave? You are merely lucky enough to live in a time where most Christian societies are secular. That is why we do not see the same level of oppression from Christianity, because secularism undermines their ability to oppress.
But like I said,
we got to pause there.
No,
we got to pause there. You've been voted out by the majority.
Okay.
Please return to your seat.
It's been fun. Oh, she had it. She had it. All right.
Dave.
All right. Hi.
Good to meet you. I'm
Good to
actually a
meet
big
you.
fan.
That guy didn't even rush. He just got long as hell legs. Just strides to the chair.
And I've been watching you since like all the way back in the Sam Harris era.
Oh, yeah?
And then I remember you
softening me up. Okay.
No, you brought
okay.
on like Stephen Molyneux, like the white nationalist. And I was like, this guy just loves ideas. He just loves all different types of ideas. I love that. But yeah, just wanted to talk right now specifically about the difference between progressive values
I don't know if that was a red flag or the subtlest burn.
and the MAGA coalition.
Sure.
It seems to me that all of the ills that are attributed to wokeism are typically things that people find annoying. So people being overly, policey about their pronoun usage or talking about specific groups that might seem extremely marginalized. That's what I typically hear from the right. I don't hear like a degradation of like society unless it's the far theocratic right. And I don't think that you ascribe to that. Would you call yourself a theocrat?
I mean, I wrote the best-selling book on classical liberalism, so it's funny, I get called a conservative all the time.
You are currently describing yourself as MAGA. The video is titled MAGA Surrounded by Far Left.
Actually happen to be a liberal in the
You're a
truest
liberal.
sense. In the truest sense of liberal.
You should join the circle.
Progressives are not liberal as a general rule.
What classically liberal ideas do you find in supporting MAGA, Dave? What classically liberal ideas align with being MAGA? What classical liberal would believe in theocracy? What classical liberal would believe in tariffs? What classical liberal would be this pro-deportation? Most people who describe them as classical liberals are referring to a type of liberal where the government is small and you have as many rights as possible. What type of classical liberal would align themselves with MAGA? Please, Dave, what classically liberal principles do you see in alignment with MAGA? Or is this one of those things where Jubilee's got the wrong title because Jordan Peterson's not a Christian? I could be mistaken about this, but I'm not aware of classical liberals being super into ultra-traditionalism.
Right. Thought, yeah.
Yeah, for me, I just feel like that type of like annoyance that wokeism presents to the world is a lot less dangerous than like, I don't know, the coalition that you're a part of that like condemns people for having children when they're in gay marriages, or says things like, people that are of particular sexual orientations don't deserve the same equal rights.
Well,
would you say that that's something that's dangerous?
A coalition is going to have all sorts of people in it. So
it's like
MAGA, if we were talking
ideological
about
diversity, right?
Yeah, if we were talking about what MAGA is, what I like about MAGA
But there is a point at which ideological diversity is just an incoherence. There is a point at which you are supposed to be in different camps working towards different goals. That's just a reality.
actually is that it's not a specific set of you have to believe this exact set, right?
Right.
You have to believe
so
these exact
some people in MAGA can
things.
believe like gay couples can have kids, and others can believe like that's degeneracy and those people need to be jailed.
Well,
those are like the difference of ideas that we're
well,
talking
actually,
about?
the tough answer to that is yes.
Oh.
As long as you're not trying to litigate someone's life. I am around a lot of conservatives.
Dave! What the fuck do you think politics are for? They don't be mean to your face because they don't have to be. They don't have to have that confrontation if they can have the government take your kids away, Dave. You fucking idiot.
All the time, and
Right.
particularly Christian conservatives, let's say, they generally are not for gay marriage. By the way, there's not one mosque in the United States that performs gay marriages, which is
Irrelevant. Irrelevant. Most mosques are also not leftist. Irrelevant. We don't stand up for Muslims because we share the values of Muslims. We stand up for Muslims because we recognize that the Muslim communities are vulnerable to the persecution of the state. Jesus Christ, Dave. Are you... Oh my God, we're gonna let him keep going, but Dave is dumb as fuck.
worth noting.
Why are you so focused on Muslims today?
Well, I'm just giving you
Okay,
I'm just
gotcha.
giving you a fact. But what I
An irrelevant fact. It has nothing to do with the argument.
Have found consistently, Donald Trump was the first incoming first-time president that was for gay marriage.
I actually really want to talk about that.
Barack Obama was not for gay marriage when he first came in.
And not until 2013.
Because Trump knew he didn't have to take a position on things that were decided by the court.
I would say is the MAGA movement. I mean, look, Scott Bessent, who's the Treasury Secretary, is married to a man and has kids. Peter Thiel is married to a man and has kids. Douglas Murray is one of the greatest voices we have in conservatism.
Peter Thiel is also one of the worst human beings alive.
Conservatism happens to be gay.
Yeah.
I don't, for the most part, people on the right actually believe in individual rights and don't really.
The guy who ran the brown shirts for the Nazis, I'm forgetting his name right now, was also gay. His name was Ernst Röhm, head of the brown shirts. Openly homosexual, one of Hitler's earliest allies. Until they killed him for being gay. He was friends with Hitler, and he still died for being gay eventually. A ton of people in the brown coats were gay because he was gay, and then they purged them. You have to understand that fascism values anyone who is willing to be useful until it is more useful to destroy them.
Care, but that doesn't mean
that's where you've lost me, though, because
that doesn't mean that everyone has to have the same religious perspective on everything.
But you've been around the block for a long time, and just like you alluded to, in 2016, Trump held up a flag that said LGBTQ for Trump. He was asked in a CBS interview, would you let Caitlyn Jenner use the bathroom that she wants to in your hotels? He said absolutely. He didn't have a problem with that.
He actually gave a better answer than that. He said, I'm a hotel builder. If you told me I had to build one bathroom, that would be fine with me. I think it's a great answer.
But that's what's crazy is that evolution has changed so much to the current MAGA movement. The MAGA movement today, Donald Trump would absolutely not say that somebody...
Only literally the hundreds of anti-LGBTQ policies and legislations that are being put through all over the country. According to advocates of the ACLU, or American Civil Liberties Union, has tracked, in 2025 alone, tracked officially 616 anti-LGBTQ plus bills. 70 to 126 of these bills were successfully signed into law, depending on the scope of tracking. In 2026, the ACLU has tracked 790 bills restricting trans and gender non-conforming rights alone have been under consideration nationally. The ACLU is tracking 530 LGBTQ plus bills in the U.S. As of May of this year, 55 anti-trans bills have passed at the state level.
He could use the bathroom aligned with their gender identity. He specifically banned that. And not just that, but he's also just called for, he specifically wrote in...
I have a video on how he passed an executive order that was designed to end all bottom surgery for women. Hopefully I've got that linked on here.
An executive order that classifies far leftist groups like pro-transgender groups as a danger to the country, which often the entire military can go after. That is insane.
On May 6th of 2026, the White House released its new U.S. counterterrorism strategy, which explicitly names violent left-wing extremists, including anarchists and anti-fascists such as Antifa, and radical pro-transgender groups as security threats, alongside cartels, Islamist terrorist groups, and terror groups. At this time, I am not aware of a single transgender organization that has had any cause for violence or done violence. If you know of one, drop a link in the comments.
That is absolutely a violation of people's individual rights.
All right, so you want to talk about the trans issue sort of broadly, I
want to talk about the MAGA coalition that claims to be pro-individual liberty, yet wants to police the way that people express themselves. But what are they doing? That also wants to police people's bodies, that want to go after people specifically because of their ethnicity.
Right.
None of that should be
Okay, so
tolerated.
Donald Trump is in the middle of his second term. Gay marriage is here, it's passed.
We're actually not even in the middle, which is the scary thing. He has already done so much in this amount of time. Dave Rubin also... I can already tell it's going to pull fucking bullshit out of his ass.
It's a just
then
cause.
Why are
I believe
so many...
in individual rights.
Wait, you're friends with Michael Knowles, right?
Yeah,
so what's that coalition again called? I think it's like Less Equal, that's trying to actually get rid of Obergefell and overturn gay marriage rights. Does that not concern you?
Well, first off, I've never heard of that specific organization, but what I can...
Dave, I don't know if you're fucking stupid, or if the fact that you have... Or just like blissfully, intentionally unaware. Or is this your job? Is this your job? Is to like downplay the existence of organizations like that? Is that your gay job?
I can tell you,
You're friends with them.
Michael is part of. I just don't know what you're talking about. But what
You
I
can
would
look it up right
but
now.
what I would
It's
say
called
is
Less Than.
no.
And it's
There are,
Lila Rose, Michael
Yeah.
Knowles. I think it's what's that guy's name at the Daily Wire, the head one?
but okay, but that's not Donald Trump.
I understand that you
That's-
want to go away
no,
from this.
No. That's not
topic.
Donald Trump. That's not the head of the party. I have friends that. Well, first off, Michael and I are friends, but there is a cap on our friendship. There
How are
actually
you
is.
friends with someone who doesn't want you to be in love, my man?
He doesn't want me to be in love. He's had dinner
Look,
at my house with his wife. My husband cooked for him.
That's against God.
Yeah.
So I want to have a
But
word
but
with him.
no.
real quick.
But think about what you're saying. I
but
get
Dave,
it. No,
real
no.
quick.
Think about what I'm saying.
But what I wanna
in
say is,
your
I'm
name.
not
Wait.
coming after you.
Hold on, champ. You know, in your world of how tolerant you are showing me you're actually showing a remarkable amount of intolerance, because although I don't know the group that you're talking about, Michael Knowles as a human being has been to my house and.
To suggest that your political activism is somehow separate from you as a human being, just because your interpersonal abilities to talk with people who you think are abominations unto God is not relevant. It is not. It does not absolve anyone. There is no disconnection between those things. If a person is putting something into politics, if a person is putting out propaganda about those specific positions, that is who they are. And if it's not who they are, then they are a fake grifter, making money off of those ideas, unaware of the fact that they are having actual influence in the world, and either not caring that they're having actual influence in the world, or just being garbage.
My husband has cooked him lamb, and we have enjoyed.
This doesn't mean anything, Dave. This doesn't mean anything. Hitler was best friends with the guy who ran the browncoats, whose name is escaping me, and hopefully I am endeavorous enough to put into the editing process. He was gay, and he still was killed by Hitler, even though they were friends. Or at least that guy thought they were friends. Hard to say, really, you know.
Evenings together and shared personal moments and all of those things. Now, do we agree on absolutely everything? Of course, the answer to that is no. And if Michael or anyone else was trying.
Michael would like you to go to conversion therapy, but he would never say that because it would ruin a dinner party. It's so fucking obvious.
To lead some organization that was going to go against my civil rights, well, that is where obviously we would have our difference of opinion, of course.
It's more than a difference of opinion, though, Dave. That's him actively working against your rights. That's not a difference of opinion. Well, I mean, I guess it is, but his opinion is that you shouldn't have rights.
But I also respect people's religious beliefs. They're allowed to have their religious beliefs.
100% people are allowed to have their religious beliefs. Once you start to enact those things into legislation, they are leaving the realm of your personal beliefs, and they are becoming a mandate on society. If Dave Rubin does not understand where this line in the sand is, then Dave Rubin should not be in politics.
Their religious beliefs are not allowed to legislate my life. This is all very separate.
Dave, he just described exactly them doing that. Oh my God, Dave, Jesus Christ, are you this fucking bought in, or are you this fucking stupid?
But from the trans thing, which obviously I sense is going to come up a few more times today.
I'll just say real quick, I'm not trying to come after you. I believe that you should have the full liberty to have the family of your choice.
Yeah.
But what I will say is I'm glad Michael treats you with respect individually when you guys are together. But when he goes in front of his platform and says that a video of two gay men having a child is the most disgusting thing that he's ever seen, which is a quote, you can look up the tweet. Michael said that that child is in one of the most dangerous situations he can think of, which is crazy to think of all the abusive parents that actually live in this society, regardless of sexual orientation. And you're going to look at a happy.
On April 16th, 2026, Michael Knowles posted on X that a clip of two gay men in Nashville with the baby they had via surrogacy was the most horrifying video I've ever seen in my life. On April 17th, 2026, he released a YouTube video about the couple titled, "This is the most horrifying video Michael Knowles has ever seen."
Family and say this is disgusting. That should feel like a violation.
Okay, so I didn't see that.
He is nice to you because you are useful to him, Dave. Are you going to say once again that you didn't see that?
Video, but if what you're asking me is if do I agree with, if let's just say what you said is true.
No, Dave. It's not whether or not you agree with it. We assume that you don't agree with it. What we are saying is, why are you willing to work in conjunction with people who are actively working against your rights? Because apparently they are nice at dinner.
True. Do I agree with Michael's point on that? Of course, the answer is no.
But that is the MAGA coalition.
No.
That's what I'm saying.
No.
That is the ideology.
No, that's not the coalition. No, that's not the coalition. No, that's not the coalition.
That is what the administration is pushing
you're taking
towards.
a very specific.
Dave, do you know how many policies are currently being written nationwide in different states and even in the federal government to specifically target LGBTQ people? Do you know, Dave? Do you know?
Specific person, and you're saying,
is it a small specific?
Oh,
is it a
absolutely,
fringe?
yes.
No, it is not.
Yes, oh, it is.
A majority.
Dave, it is not. If it was a fringe, then transgender people wouldn't come up in every fucking conversation that right-wingers have.
No, that's completely absurd. That's completely absurd. It's completely absurd.
We got to pause there. You've been voted out by the majority. Please
Give me
return
two.
to
All
your
right.
seat.
Good grab.
I want to go to your prompt in a second, but I just wanted to address, so I actually come from a Christian background. I spend a lot of my career debating Christian nationalists. And even the nicest Christian nationalists, they do want to take your rights. I spend a lot of time talking to these people, even the really nice ones. So I just want to be careful, and I guess I want to say, like, I remember when you posted about having your kids on Twitter.
Because the thing is, you have to understand, is that Christians don't view it as hurting you to take your rights. They don't care about your rights. They don't see how your rights matter to you. They don't think it actually improves your life. They think that you will be better off, that your life will be overall better off following their worldview. Look at that look on his face. It could just be the pause, but, like, it's so hard not to slap. Like, you just want to slap him.
Twitter, which congratulations.
Yeah,
on your
thanks.
Kids. The comments were horrifying. I don't know if you remember, but it was Christian nationalists and Republicans.
Dave, they have come after you in the comment sections before. How are you this unaware? Do you just tell yourself that that's all of them?
Tearing you and your husband down for having.
And by that, and by all of them, I mean like the people who are talking to him are the minority. That he's talking to the encompassing all of the minority.
A child.
Well, you should also note there was a lot of love. There was an awful lot of love from an awful lot of conservatives and liberals and people across the board and everything else. The way the internet operates is
about a third of, around 35%, according to some polls, although I'm going to fact check myself on this. Fact check time. According to Gallup polls, 37 to 41% of Republicans support gay marriage. However, the peak of Republican support for gay marriage was in 2021 and 2022 at 55%. That is a noticeable drop to 2026, where it's only 37%. I wonder what happened, because I'm almost definitely misquoting the number. But it's roughly around a little over a third of Republicans are okay with the idea of gay marriage, according to national polls. That's more than enough people to leave nice comments for Dave Rubin about his family. But that's still the minority.
people only focus on the negative. So was there a whole bunch of nasty
Which
comments?
side did it
was there
come
a
from
whole
more?
bunch of nasty?
Do you guess? Let's be honest. Let's just be honest. Which side
for
supports it more?
that? If you're asking me about for that specific
Democrats
post, it was
and
no.
liberals.
For that specific post, it was mostly people on the right. For sure, it was.
Who are attacking you?
Yeah, I
Of course.
fully acknowledge that.
Of course.
Absolutely. 99%.
Because you would look absolutely insane to not acknowledge it.
Of the hate that I get is from people that are in this circle.
Sure,
so
but
I
it's
want,
definitely-
Yes, because to us, you are a sellout dumbass.
Not for being gay.
What?
It's,
No.
It's
Well,
for supporting.
no,
going
no,
back
no,
to the
no,
prompt.
no.
It's for supporting.
It's not for being gay, like
an
the act
authoritarian,
of gay.
desiring,
Yeah.
probably demented old man. So going back to the prompt of wokeism, it seems like you defined it as intersectionality, some collectivization based on demographic
you take,
factors.
yeah, we could basically
So
go with that.
wokeism is intersectionality.
It is a piece. Well, intersectionality is a piece.
It's not. Intersectionality is its own concept. just like politically correct is its own concept. Something that is woke is not necessarily politically correct, but there can be crossover between those things conceptually.
Of wokeism, if you're going to group people on these immutable characteristics, and then you decide based on this, we got to put black people up here, we've got to put white guys down here.
That is not what wokeism claims. Just so everyone knows. If that is what you think wokeism is, you are being misled. That is not what wokeism means.
Here, gays are going to be above the straights, trans will be above the gays, you have this endless hierarchy.
And what specific policy harms have happened?
The left has no hierarchy. It is not leftist theory if there is a hierarchy. That is not the concept of intersectionality. He is either woefully uninformed or he is disingenuous as fuck.
I mean, quite literally, the easiest one would be college admissions. I mean, we know that Harvard and
college admissions is not related to a woke movement. What they were doing was part of a plan to try and create more diversity across their universities. And it didn't even work in a system where you would be putting those people against each other. It wasn't a hierarchy. The idea is that all Asians would be competing against all Asians, all black people would be competing against all black people, and all white people would only be competing against white people in terms of trying to get into the university. And even with these policies, the majority of university people being admitted to universities are fucking white. And the number one beneficiaries of affirmative action were white women. Also, university affirmative action is not the same thing as government affirmative action. Government affirmative action merely said that you had to hire someone to show that you, as a company, could hire diversity. It didn't say that there were no actual quotas. Quotas is a misconflation based on, I think, something that's going on in Europe. But I am not well-versed enough on that to even comment on that. The point is that whatever he's about to say is going to be stupid. Because he does not actually know how the admissions thing works. The reason there was a lawsuit was because due to the fact that a lot of Asian students achieve on a higher level, this meant that it was actually statistically more unfair to average to below average Asians to get into universities. That it was almost impossible for them to get into universities because they had to compete specifically against other Asians who were outperforming them. And it caused, at the end of the day, it was just math no one accounted for when this system was put in place.
And other colleges were discriminating against mostly white and Asian students because
he doesn't even know how to properly explain it. He does not know how to properly explain it. And there is no evidence that we were discriminating against white students because, at the end of the day, the admission rates for white students exceed all other groups.
They wanted more diversity, and they were allowing students of color with lesser grades to get in.
That's not what was happening. He doesn't know.
As a general rule,
if we're worried about universities, who's cutting their funding?
Well, hold on. Do you agree that happened?
To some degree, I think it was overblown to a large degree. Because affirmative action.
Okay, let's see what their Jubilee is going to say. In Students for Fair Admission v. Harvard, decided June 2023, the Supreme Court held Harvard's admission program violated the Equal Protections Clause via Title VI, an empirical work. Asian American discrimination in Harvard admissions. Finds that typical Asian applicants were held to a higher standard and received lower personal ratings than similar qualified peers. And that happened for the reason that I just described to you. Their original plan was, well, as long as we're taking people from all the groups and we just take the top from all the groups, we should have some level of diversity. But what they didn't take into account was the fact that this made it statistically harder for the Asians. I already explained this.
And basically ended, I think, in the early 2000s, right? A lot of these issues were clamped down on pretty quickly. And the issue is that...
Note that the fact check does not say anything about fucking white people.
When you look at the reason why...
Well, you could look at corporations. All these corporations that have their DEI stickers. I was just on a Delta flight. They still have their DEI sticker on there.
DEI is not inherently a bad thing. Why would diversity ever be a problem for anyone?
Well, diversity in and of itself is not a problem. But if you say we are going
what about inclusion?
We are going to hire people...
The vast majority of diversity, equity, and inclusion programs are in fact work culture-like trainings. That is the majority of DEI. DEI, when it comes to the only place where DEI overlaps with hiring is that DEI helps promote in communities where the jobs would not have normally been promoted. It has nothing to do with how unqualified a person is. You still have to be qualified. No one has ever claimed that you didn't have to be qualified.
And we are going to factor in all of these immutable characteristics inherently by saying...
Forgive me. Conservatives have made that claim. The point is that that's not actually part of DEI.
We're going to elevate one group of people. You are going to have to...
It's not about elevating any group of people. It's about recognizing which groups of people's houses are on fire. We don't put out... We don't spray your house with water just because your neighbor's house was on fire. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Discriminate against another group
Do you
of
have
people.
a diverse...
And that actually is racism.
Do you have a diverse,
bigotry.
unique experience based on your gayness that other people will never have?
I'm sorry?
Does your gayness give you insight into certain experiences that other people simply will not have because they're not gay?
Well, I suppose as a gay person, I do have experiences that some people don't have.
And you probably have knowledge
that was
and,
funny.
and experiences.
Did you not catch that?
I did get the joke.
You got that? Okay.
I mean, lots of people do all sorts of crazy sex. Yeah.
I missed the joke. Apparently it's a sex thing.
All right, yeah.
But the issue is that what we're talking about here when we come to diversity.
But I wouldn't want that to have
benefit.
anything. I wouldn't want that to have anything to do with me being hired. Or
Sure,
me
but
being
it's really
allowed
hard to
into a
compare. So,
school.
sir, let's say I granted you all of the woke harms.
Yeah.
The issue is that it didn't take us to Iran. It didn't kill schoolgirls. It didn't right now crush with the FCC and kick multiple people off of air and threaten to pull things. It's not burning books in Florida.
Who's been kicked off air?
Jimmy Kimmel got kicked off of air. ABC was regularly under threat for doing these things. The FCC president,
ABC made a decision.
came out after Trump called him and said that we can't have these type of things.
Don't pretend like the threat to his career didn't occur, Dave.
Crushed James Tallarico. But this has happened over and over again.
What do you mean? They
books
crushed
being
James
burned.
Tallarico. James Tallarico is the nominee right now.
They crushed his appearance.
What do you mean they crushed his appearance?
The FCC wouldn't allow his appearance.
I don't know what you're talking about. I have literally no idea
I guess
what you're
look
talking
it
about.
up.
And of course, here comes the fact check to stab Dave Rubin right in the fucking back. James Tallarico's Colbert interview was pulled from CBS broadcast, not because the FCC outright banned him, but because CBS lawyers citing the Trump FCC stricter equal time guidance for political candidate advised that airing it could trigger equal time obligations, so the show ran the interview only on YouTube. Jubilee is giving some benefit of the doubt here towards the FCC, but this isn't it. But what we're actually seeing here is this is the chilling effect. This is the chilling effect of what they had already done. The lawyers were already ready to pull these things. That means that they successfully are chilling free speech.
Pause there.
Yeah.
I think you were talking about Colbert's show, but you've been voted out by the majority.
Okay.
You guys are slow, bro. How's it going, Dave?
You're quick. How you doing? How you doing?
So I just quickly wanted to recognize, I love this, by the way. You have a very unconventional household, and wokeism has brought you that household, right? To live with your husband, to have your 2 children, or conceived through surrogacy, and I appreciate that.
Wokeism didn't bring that. Equal rights.
So
brought that,
wokeism is,
equality.
as I define it.
Yes, Dave, because equal rights is woke as fuck. Because those rights had to be fought for, it equals... Yes, it was woke as fuck to give you those rights, Dave. If you don't understand that, then I don't think you're a good faith actor. Or you are, like I have always said, you are a screw in a box of nails. Nope, that's a bad metaphor. You are the dullest tack in a box of tacks. You couldn't stick a letter to a corkboard.
As I view it personally, is looking to expand on already existing civil liberties, right? To ensure that, to ensure America practices what it preaches, equal protections, inclusion of everybody, democracy, etc. So it's not a policy prescription, it's a social prescription. Donald Trump is president. He's the head of the executive branch. He has a trifecta, a judiciary that's on his side. Donald Trump's violent. Donald Trump's destroying the pillars of America: democracy, negative rights, the rule of law, our Constitution. The list goes on and on. So I'm just curious to see what...
I feel like Dave Rubin is actually the kind of person who gets all his news from Twitter, which would explain why he is woefully ignorant on so many things.
institutional damage has wokeism done? And
sure,
if
well,
you want to engage with Trump being violent, that'd be nice.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I just don't agree with anything you said there, period. First off, wokeism isn't what led to, say, gay marriage. What led to gay marriage is a fight for equality under the law. If you believe...
That's what it means to be woke, you dumb piece of shit.
That heterosexual marriage, that an adult should be able to engage in any sort of contract with another adult, then that has to be equal. That's what equal protection, which you just mentioned, is, and that's actually what the decision was based on.
Yes.
So that was not wokeism, that was the promise of America, which is the promise of individual
The promise of America is pretty fucking woke, Dave.
rights and equal opportunity. As for a few of the other things that you said there, again, if we could do the, you want to do the Iran thing again.
No, I said Donald Trump is violent.
Yeah, so Donald Trump is violent in what sense?
Yeah, so I also want to mention you, the reason why you left the left, correct me if I'm wrong, is because you believe progressives were turning to authoritarianism. Am I correct there?
I mean, there was a...
That was your preview video. You said it. You can't deny it.
Settle down, Chip. There was a panoply of reasons that I did.
But that's one of them, correct?
Yeah.
Do you think it's authoritarian for the president of the United States to call for the death of 6 active members of the legislature for making a video that is totally fine and legal?
It's interesting. Oh, well, first off, you're talking about the video where they basically, Mark Kelly and several of these guys were basically saying if you're in the military, you can go against, Trump and all those things. Well, first off, there are some legal actual reasons that perhaps you should not, as a former member of the military, be telling
the punishment for...
There's not a legal reason. There is no legal reason to prevent you from reminding the military of their own rights, because that is technically what they were doing. If you are a service member, you have a right to resist orders you deem immoral.
For making videos is death, I forgot. Sorry.
I'm sorry, did anyone...
Hang him. George Washington Wood, am I right, guys?
Did anyone get put to death?
It doesn't matter. The president of the United States is actively calling for the death of members of the legislature that oppose him.
Is anyone in trouble? Is anyone in trouble because of that? You're missing the difference.
No, Dave, because here's the thing. If you are going to say that that is different from actual action, then you have to admit that your entire claim that wokeism is bad for the country is bullshit. Because at the end of the day, 99% of wokeism is just people saying shit.
You're saying Donald Trump... Hold on.
Hang on.
Let's just understand the prompt here. You said wokeism has done more damage than Donald Trump ever did.
So explain
Can you tell
the
me
damage.
a single time wokeism is doing something remotely similar?
So remotely similar as Donald Trump
damage?
being slightly sarcastic.
I can give you damage.
Let me explain something.
I can give you...
That is not sarcasm. That is definitionally not sarcasm. That would be like saying that Donald Trump was sarcastically that would imply that the meaning of Donald Trump's actual words was that everything those people did was good. That would be sarcasm. Sarcasm has to imply that you are meaning the opposite of what you are saying. Saying that he said that they should be held for treason, that they should be punished for treason, is not the same thing as sarcasm. How would you even interpret that as sarcasm? Are you saying that Donald Trump agreed with him with their take? Is that what you're trying to say? Because that would be sarcasm.
Hold on.
You claim to be a stand-up comedian, Dave. How are you gonna not represent sarcasm properly?
Hold on. Listen, let me explain something to you. Donald Trump, all you need to know about, for any one of you guys that think that Donald Trump's coming for you because you're gay or you're trans or something like that, or you're...
Explain all the bills being pushed through the legislatures, Dave. Do you even know what's fucking happening in this country?
Black or anything else. Might I recommend you just read Art of the Deal, which Donald Trump wrote about 40 years ago.
It's terrible. He's just discussing his activities throughout the week.
You can dismiss it. You can dismiss it. But Donald Trump gave you his playbook 40 plus years ago. 40 plus years.
A postmodernist playbook. A playbook based on pure, unfiltered, amoral capitalism. A playbook that lays out the fact that Donald Trump cares more about appearances than material realities. Dave, this is not... Dave, have you fucking read that book? Can you comprehend that book? Do you know how to read?
Years ago, he gave you the playbook on how he negotiates. He leads with crazy
So this is irrelevant
things.
to what I'm currently talking about, right?
No, it's completely...
No, you asked me about damage. I can give you examples, but you don't...
I'm sorry, Dave. Is your argument going to be that he told you up front that he leads with bullying? And is that supposed to be good? Bullying is a form of violence. It's a social violence.
Because you know you're going to get fried.
No.
No, that is the truth.
It's completely
Donald Trump
irrelevant.
tried to rewrite the Constitution via executive order with Executive Order 14160. And it was followed up by 141601, where they used this to target individuals for pro-Palestinian speech like Mahmoud Khalil. And this was already ruled upon, by the way.
All right.
I'm sure you know about this, correct?
Yeah. Okay, first
But he
off,
tried to rewrite the Constitution via executive order. Can the president...
Executive Order 14160 and 141601 are not orders to rewrite the Constitution to target pro-Palestinian speech. 14160 is a birthright citizenship order. To be fair, he never actually claimed that order was the one doing it. And Order 141601 doesn't exist. Oh, interesting. The Trump administration has instead used Executive Order 13899. Oh, so the kid got the number wrong? And Executive Order 14188, both billed as combating anti-Semitism to justify investigation visa cancellation and deportation efforts against pro-Palestinian campus activists, including citing EO 14188 in connection with the arrest of the Columbia graduate Mohammed Khalil. Okay, so the kid got the number of that other executive order wrong. He's still technically right.
President do that?
There's a difference.
Can the president do that?
Hold on. There is a difference between exercising free speech.
He's not answering.
There's a difference between exercising free speech and closing down a campus and not letting students get... You're an interesting character. Yeah. No, you see him now.
Dave, he is giving you the level of respect that you deserve, and if you really were a comedian, you would recognize it, and you'd be able to roll with it.
Nice. There's a difference between exercising free speech, which I will always defend your free speech, no matter how noxious it is.
The president
and
doesn't.
closing down
defending the
campuses.
president.
No, they weren't. No, Mahmoud Khalil and all of these masked
He was
Hamas
almost deported with
jihadis.
no cause, and it's literally in the documents of the case.
Well, first off, Marco Rubio has illustrated the point many, many times.
true.
If you're here on a green card or a student visa or anything else, you don't have the exact same protections that you don't.
Congress shall make no law. What?
No.
Well,
for people that are citizens of the United States of America.
What's the precedent?
Doesn't say if they're quoting the line I think he is. It does not say citizens.
Wait a minute.
Nothing. So Donald Trump tried to sign an executive order rewriting the birthright citizenship clause of the 14th Amendment. Where did he get this power?
Let me ask you something. Do you
is it authoritarian to act on a self-granted authority?
Hold on.
Can you answer my question?
Hold on.
You're not going to.
Yeah, I got to let me chat here for a sec. Listen.
Dave talk.
Let me ask you something. Let's try it this way. So let's say you and your girlfriend went on vacation. Bora Bora. You show up to the most beautiful place on earth, and she's 7 months pregnant, and she then gives birth in Bora Bora. You think your child should be a citizen of French Polynesia, Bora Bora?
And you think affirms that just solely principle, and I'm sorry, the president cannot defy it because he doesn't like it. That's how our country works. And that is an example of damage to America.
You can fight it in the...
The kid is right. Dave Rubin right now is not giving an argument. Dave Rubin literally here is giving an argument to justify changing the Constitution. His goal in defense here is to just justify what Trump's action instead of deal with the fact that the kid is right. He is not addressing the authoritarian nature of it. He is creating a justification for the authoritarian action. That is the argument that Dave is building right now. That is not the same thing as denying its authoritarian nature.
The courts. You can fight it in the courts.
He doesn't like the courts. He ignores them. Prior to the Alien Enemies Act removals, Emile Beauvais...
Okay, we're out of time. We got to stop there.
Okay, got you.
My next surrounded claim is if you still vote for Democrats in 2026, you're voting for broken cities, broken schools, and broken borders.
If you would like to debate this claim, get to the chair in 3, 2, 1.
Hey, how are you, Santana?
So, can you explain a little bit about what you mean, broken cities, broken schools, broken borders?
Sure. Well, broken cities, you can boil it down to crime and drug use. And I can tell you, having been here in Los Angeles for the last 36 hours, I have seen more homeless people, more drug use, more urban
Warmer states have more homeless people. That's just a fact.
decay than I've seen in the last 5 years combined
What state do you
living
currently
in
live
Florida.
Florida? Got it.
In terms of schools, it's
You ever been to Jacksonville, Florida? To be fair, it's been a long time since I went to Jacksonville, Florida. It might be nicer now.
basically brainwashing kids and teaching them what to think instead of teaching them how to think. And then what was the third one in terms of, borders is the easiest one. I mean, under the Biden administration, we let in somewhere, we don't even know what the actual number is, but somewhere between 16 to 20 million illegals. If Donald Trump did
I believe the number... Oh, wait, no. Maybe this is what the fact check is going to happen.
quite literally
Fact check. During Biden's presidency, the Border Patrol logged roughly 7 to 8 million encounters at the southern border, with an estimated 1 to 1.5 million gotaways, which means that roughly there is in fact between 8 and 9.5 million. Pew's 2021-2024 estimates show that the total undocumented population rising from 10.5 million to around 14 million, an increase of only a few million, far below the claims of 16 to 20 million new undocumented immigrants. And that is actually, that number implies that a bunch of these people didn't even get into the country or left the country immediately afterwards.
nothing else in his presidency, just getting control of the border, I would say would be good enough, because you don't have a country if you don't know who is in it.
Okay. All three of your claims are wrong. Pick which one you want to be proved wrong on.
Let's do borders.
Perfect.
Okay.
Donald Trump is absolutely the worst president on the border. First and foremost, you can talk about the Langford bill, which was a piece of legislation which would have strengthened our borders, but Donald Trump had that legislation shot down. He
Wait. So were the borders open under Obama?
No.
Or under Biden?
No.
Let's try that. The borders were not open.
What piece of legislation
we did not,
did he pass to open the borders?
No, it's not about piece of legislation. It's about quite
So
literally
how do you open the borders without legislation?
Exactly. If you can't name the legislation to open the borders, then the borders weren't open. That is how the government works. If you don't understand that, I'm sorry, you're being misled by liars and charlatans.
just let people through, which is exactly what we're doing.
There was no one standing at the borders. Everybody just come right in.
In many cases, yes, actually. In many cases, they were quite literally moving.
It is not possible to have border patrol at every point of the border due to its length, which was the entire argument behind the fucking wall. Nothing he is saying here is of value. He is going to lie. It's going to be trash. I'm sorry, I shouldn't poison the well like this.
Barbed wire fence.
Where did you get this information?
There are videos of it. Have you ever seen the video of Bobby?
Did you fact check the videos?
Have you ever seen the video of Bobby Kennedy when he was running as a Democrat, standing at the border? He was still a Democrat.
Wait,
and
you're
he
talking
could
about the
not
same
believe-
one that sniffed coke off a toilet seat and admitted it recently.
No.
The same one that actually took a dead bear and dropped it in Central Park. The same one that actually chopped the head off a whale. You're citing RFK Jr.?
Yes, I am citing RFK Jr.
No, I don't hear that.
Who's running HHS right now?
Which he shouldn't be, but that's fine. Yeah. Listen, when you talk...
RFK Jr. has zero qualifications for that job.
Hold on. How many people do you think came in under Biden? Let's see if we're even operating on the same plane.
The acceptable number is about 10 million.
Okay, all right, fair enough. So I'll grant you that. They say it could be anywhere. I've heard 16 to 20 million, but let's say
because Trump keeps inflating the numbers on purpose. Such a dumb bitch.
It's 10. Do you think that's good or fair or just, or how a country can operate?
I think that when you
10 million is not that dangerous of a rise in our population, statistically. Like, you have to understand that 3 million is only 1% of our population. A 1% increase is nothing. In fact, actually, 3 million is less than 1%. There's like, what is it, 388 million Americans, which means to budge that number into a percentile that is unacceptable takes an extraordinary amount of people. This is me in the edit process. As I was doing the editing, I noticed something important that I didn't mention before, which is simply that, so like, according to the fact check that Jubilee put up, technically speaking, only around a population of undocumented immigrants, despite the number of encounter rates, really only increased by about 4 million. And that's significant because that's barely over a 1% increase of the overall American population. Just throwing that out there, I felt like it was worth noting.
You create instability throughout the world, and then you also tell people that your country's open, then you create an actual quote-unquote border crisis. Think about this really quick.
What instability was Joe Biden causing?
What was Barack Obama's nickname?
Barry?
Deporter-in-chief. Barack Obama had a negative immigration rate. That means that he deported more people than he let into the country. So you're
for deportation.
So we can say that there wasn't a border crisis under Obama, right?
The border crisis was significantly worse under Biden.
But under Obama, was there a crisis?
Barack Obama did.
Yes or no?
Barack Obama,
yes or
no. Barack Obama did deport, I think, more people than Donald Trump.
So,
yeah.
but then
I wish Donald Trump was deporting more people.
Sure, yeah. I agree. So you're saying there was a crisis.
Obama deported more and more effectively with less death. That's super important.
Under Biden?
Yes,
okay,
of course.
But no crisis under Obama?
No, I didn't say that. He was deporting.
I mean, yes or no? Yes or no?
Wait, hold on. Let's do Biden.
He had a negative deportation rate.
Let's do Biden and Trump. Biden and Trump. Let's do the last two administrations.
Just answer the question. Yes or no?
I am for anyone that will close borders and deport
I'll say
people.
no. I'll say no. That's fine.
Okay.
So if there wasn't a crisis under Obama and there was a crisis under Biden, what happened in between those two administrations? Was there something that happened?
Wait, are you blaming Donald Trump for Joe Biden's border?
No, what I'm blaming Donald Trump for is when he's actually campaigning for president and he's going around and to any news organization that would let him speak and telling everyone that the border's open. They're wide open. Come on in. Come on in. And he actually created.
Donald Trump creates the crisis. Yep.
Created something that wasn't there. So
wait, you're blaming people coming to this country illegally. You're blaming Donald Trump. Donald Trump, who...
If the Republicans continue to run the concept that America has an open border, foreigners will believe them.
Really only appeared because of borders, right? Build a wall.
There wasn't a border issue.
That's what
there wasn't a border issue when he said that, right? But then when there was...
Which is true. Republicans have been talking about illegal immigrants in every campaign that there has been since I think like the 90s, maybe even the 80s. I would have to look into it to be sure, but like as far as I have been alive and paying attention to politics, Republicans have been talking about this specific issue continuously. There is literally satire of it in episodes of The Simpsons. Wait, The Simpsons is still on air, so you might not understand that as a point of reference to something being way back in the 90s. The point is, this is not new. Like Republicans using it as a talking point, even when there is no border crisis, is a consistency in the Republican Party, and Donald Trump saw that and tapped into that.
We've always had a completely porous border.
We had a negative
very
deportation rate under Obama. He created the actual desire for people to come here because he told the lie that the borders was open.
Wait a minute, but why?
So
but if America's a
here,
racist, evil, capitalist country, why would these people want to come here?
Because it's still better than the countries that they're in. Because the United States of
America's is pretty good.
What the fuck do you think you are arguing for right now, Dave? That's a point that is irrelevant to the situation. The NRA does a thing. The NRA, whenever Democrats are in power, will immediately start putting out propaganda that Barack Obama or Joe Biden or whoever is about to ban guns. Because the NRA knows that if they do this, gun sales surge. So they do it as a cyclical thing. They take advantage of Democrats being in office to sell more guns. Because perception is the thing that sells things. So yes, if you publicly and nationally and internationally continuously broadcast that it's easy to break into America, you are literally telling that your car is unlocked and the keys are in the ignition. But Dave is making an argument for nothing, about nothing.
Stabilizing other countries. Our CIA keeps destabilizing other countries and overthrowing other countries. We're doing that right now.
So who did Barack Obama destabilize that then Donald Trump allowed into the country?
The point being is our country has a history of destabilization. That doesn't matter if it's left or right.
It's not really relevant. Right now, Dave Rubin is just playing a game of let's try and pin the border problems on a Democrat.
So who did Barack... Well, I'm just playing your game here. So
a little bit of fairness to that statement. But Dave Rubin is not equipped to play this game because Santana came with facts.
playing
Donald
your
Trump
game, man.
created the need for people to come here, and there was no crisis. Then Donald Trump not only created it, but he didn't handle it.
I'm sorry, man. Nothing you're saying is making sense here. What you
What was
won't,
done-
you won't.
It actually makes a lot of sense, Dave, but I don't expect you to be able to keep up with most conversations.
Okay, we got to pause there. You've been voted out.
What country did Barack Obama destabilize that?
I thought he was doing a good job. Dave really wants to press this point because he thinks it's the winning point, but destabilization of countries can last for like generations in terms of the effects on a populace, so it's meaningless.
Caused people to come here under Donald Trump.
I guess you'll never know.
Okay, you've been voted out.
Okay.
Dave, that guy just gave you a funnier response than you've ever even given on stage.
Hey, how are you?
Hey, how are you?
Hello.
Yeah. What's your name? What's your name?
My name is Maybe. Nice to meet you, Dave.
Good to meet you.
So I myself am a Democrat. I'm actually running for state senate here in.
I love that this, I believe, trans person has chosen to make their look that of like a first lady. I think that's a great gimmick if that's what they're going for.
California.
Okay.
I would argue that
I don't mean like a specific first lady, I mean like a first lady vibe.
I am about as far left as you can get as a Democrat.
Okay.
And I'm critical of the Democratic Party because I actually don't think they're left enough. If we're going to talk about broken cities, here we are in Los Angeles. Los Angeles is not a broken city. I live here. I feel safe walking down the street as an openly trans non-binary person, as somebody who does drag. This is not a broken city. It is unaffordable in many ways, but that is the case across the rest of the United States. And if we're going to talk about broken cities, we actually need to talk about broken states. 8 out of the 10 poorest states in the United States are Republican controlled. And the majority of states that are the wealthiest states are democratically controlled. And these are actually donor states to Republican states. And the irony is that Republicans are against welfare, except when it comes to funding their states.
Okay. Well, first off, I would say I'm very glad that as a trans person you feel safe here. You should feel safe.
Most of the poorest states are Republican-led, while many of the wealthiest are Democratic-leaning. Census and state legislature data show that 9 out of 10 poorest states vote Republican, and 8 out of 19 poorest have Republican-controlled legislature. 18 out of 19 have Republican-controlled legislature. Fiscal analysis also find that higher-income blue states often pay more in federal taxes than they receive, while poorer red states often receive more than they contribute. The truth comes out, but I already knew this.
Safe, and I treat anyone that treats me with respect, you're going to get respect out of me. So I appreciate that, and I'm glad to hear it. I assume you've been to West Hollywood, right?
I have.
I used to live in...
So, like, my issue is that being civil is not actually a real reflection of, like, your values as a person. And that seems to be a thing that a lot of conservatives reach for a lot. But the truth of the matter is that it's not, because being civil or polite is a performative behavior. You do it specifically to get certain social reactions. It doesn't mean, it has literally very little in terms of reflection of your character as a person, other than the fact that some people you can tell are rude because they won't play those games. But being rude is also not the worst thing that a person can be. Like, who'd you rather hang out with? A polite serial killer or a rude minister? A rude but progressive minister. Let's be real.
In West Hollywood, pretty close to the Abbey.
Let's be real, because I wouldn't want to hang out with a conservative minister. I'm sorry.
And I left about I moved to the Valley before that, but I lived there for about 6 years. And the 6 years that I lived there, from about 2000.
All right, let's compare my anecdotal experience to your anecdotal experience. I didn't think about it until just now, but she did open with an anecdotal experience.
2013 to 2019, it was pretty clean and it was pretty safe, and there weren't drug addicts and homeless people all over the place. I spent the last 2 days there in West Hollywood. That's the hotel I'm staying at is there. There are drug addicts and homeless people everywhere.
Is your hotel like though in like a suburban area, or is it like in downtown? Like downtown almost always has a higher rate of those things. I mean, unless we're in Toronto.
You would acknowledge that is the case, yes?
I would acknowledge that, but I would also acknowledge that there are plenty of housed people who are also drug addicts, and they never seem to be the problem. It's only when they're existing in poverty, abject poverty outside, that you have to witness it, that it becomes a problem. The issue is not that these...
That's a really good point.
people are dangerous. The mythology around people experiencing homelessness is that they are dangerous. The reality is that unhoused people are more likely to be victims of violent crime than perpetrators.
Well, all right.
of it.
So listen, I can actually get on board some of what you're saying here. Now, there's a couple issues here.
Research and local data consistently show that unhoused people are far more likely to be victims of violent crime than to commit it, with rates of assault, sexual violence, and even homicide many times higher than for the general population. Kind of makes sense if you think about it. Literally being in a house makes you more protected from crime.
Because one of them is not just about...
It's why you live in a... It's one of the reasons you live in a house.
Violence. If you are going to create the conditions, the economic conditions or whatever you want to call it, that's going to allow for these people to be out on the streets, would you want to walk a baby in a carriage down that block as these people are there? I don't think you would.
This is an emotional appeal. The truth about people walking babies is that people have to go places, and sometimes you're going to have to walk your baby in places that aren't safe. I was walking a baby all around Chicago, oh my God, over a decade now ago. And let me tell you right now, like sometimes it was scary, and sometimes, but most of the time it was fine.
I would, because I don't know the last time I've heard of an unhoused person attacking a baby. And these are,
you know what, I would say if you, no, it's not fear-mongering.
It is fear-mongering. Like, what he's doing is an emotional appeal. It only works if a person has an emotional response to it. Like, it's not a logic-based argument.
If you were a young mother and you were pushing a carriage and there were a bunch of people who clearly were on, well, now they have super meth or whatever it is.
Super meth.
But it is real. It is a real thing. It is a...
Maybe. But, like, Jesus Christ, man. It's not like it's Flocka.
Real thing, that are on any of these drugs, you would not want to push a carriage down that block. But it's not exactly just about violence per se.
I told you I would actually feel comfortable with that.
Okay, so you would.
Most these people.
I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that most parents would not be comfortable with that. But it's not just about that. I would also say if you spend any time in, well, Hollywood's become a total disaster too. But if you,
it's just we're just going into emotion now. You're such a shit debater, Dave Rubin.
If you go down Melrose, you go down to these places that were once thriving. The store everywhere, the stores are closed.
Okay, there are
not shoppers, but it's because of the economic conditions.
Stores being closed often has more to do with larger economic issues. Specifically, buying things online is a huge issue with stores.
Exactly, it's a part of the economic conditions. So what we need is economic equity.
No. But who's been running? But Democrats have been running this city forever. Democrats have been running the state of California forever.
Republicans who are running to represent the city, including Spencer Pratt, is not coming in to build housing for all the issues that there is not enough housing in Los Angeles to house the number of people experiencing homelessness.
No.
Yes, it is, because on any given night...
It's not a housing issue. It's not a housing issue.
It is a housing issue, Dave Rubin. Where have you seen any data that shows it anything but a housing issue? It has been known to be a housing issue for a long fucking time now.
Drug addicts, all the beds and homes that there are, and it will not work.
The majority of homeless people are not on drugs. That is a fact. Look it up. It's roughly around 33 to 35% of homeless people are on drugs, and that includes alcohol. Another solid third of homeless people are single mothers. I'm going to look at that single number. Around a third are single mothers. I might be mixing up that number.
Will not work. If you told me that what you were trying to do was figure out truly functional...
Like over a third of homeless people are families, and 89% of that, over a third, are single mother families. I think that's the statistic. I'm just trying to be as accurate as I can based off of what's left of my memory.
Programs that would help these people get off drugs, and they could actually work.
Like universal health care.
I could get on some of that. No, but just saying universal health care, and we're going to give health care to everybody.
Well, Dave, you haven't given me
the thing that helps you when you're mentally ill or disabled and you can't live in a house would be health care.
Given me a moment to speak and retort. So what I want to say is that on any given night in Los Angeles, in LA County, there are more than 72,000 people experiencing homelessness. In LA City, there are more than 43,000
Democrat-run Los Angeles.
Let me finish.
There are
more than 43,000 people experiencing homelessness. Yet there are only about 16,000 interim housing shelter beds. Meanwhile, there are more than 250,000 vacant units. Here's the thing, Democrats, what I'm saying...
Is your argument that Democrats have not funded... Is your argument that Democrats have not funded homeless policies enough because they've
my argument is that Republicans are not going to fund it either. They're just going to criminalize our neighbors experiencing poverty, and we cannot criminalize our neighbors experiencing homelessness just because they are poor.
But you seem more angry.
She is correct. She's letting her emotions get away from her, which Dave Rubin is going to try and exploit because he has nothing.
Republicans who've had nothing to do with this. Republicans have literally no influence in this city or in this state. So even if I could grant you...
Republicans don't, but rich people do. A lot of California's problems are actually because of Silicon Valley and that's done to the housing market.
But they have said what they want to do, which is...
I don't think it really affects these specific cities that they're talking about, but I'm sure it has some type of overall effect on the whole state.
Just come in and criminalize people who are living poor in public, and that is not going to solve the problem. That is going to shuffle the problem down the street. It's going to create more incarceration.
You're angry at people. You seem angry at people that aren't in power and haven't been.
She's angry at you, Dave. At you, because you're annoying.
In power here in decades than the people who are actually in power. If you're angry,
I can be angry at both.
But if you're angry at somebody, be angry at Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom, when he was mayor of San Francisco.
I have been meaning for a long time to actually look into Gavin Newsom's policies because he's one of those people where I get this weird feeling where it gets very hard to tell what exactly is true about Gavin Newsom and not true about Gavin Newsom because everyone seems to already have a narrative for Gavin Newsom going on in their head. So that makes me need to investigate Gavin Newsom more. Currently, right now, I don't think I would particularly want Gavin Newsom to run for president. But I mean, if it was him versus a MAGA candidate, I'd have to vote for him. Because MAGA has to be stopped. So I really kind of hope it's someone else.
Had his, 10-year plan to end homelessness in San Francisco. I am sure I don't have to tell you about the drug and homelessness problem in San Francisco.
You don't, but what we don't actually have is permanent supportive housing. We do not have enough permanent supportive housing with wraparound services.
So
you can't just criminalize people and throw people in jail.
No. So we have a fundamental difference on what you can do for these people. I don't think that if you take a bunch of drug addicts and just give them beds...
Once again, roughly 33 to 35% of all homeless people are on drugs, and that includes alcohol. Shut the fuck up, Dave.
But that's going to solve anything. I think it's going to prolong it for the most part, okay? So we have a fundamental difference there.
But alcoholics and drug addicts who have a house and a job are more functional than drug addicts that live on the street, and that's a fact.
That's just fine. But what I would say is aim your anger.
I'm sure that you would probably do drugs if you lived on the street as well.
Aim your anger.
That comment did not need to be made based on the statistics I've already given you.
Aim your anger at the people who have been in charge. Your anger should not be at Spencer
My anger is at the duopoly, which is both Democrats and Republicans.
But it's not a duopoly here. It's not a duopoly here. Here in Los Angeles, which has...
The problem politically that Dave is failing to understand here is that you don't just swing wildly from a Democrat all the way over to a Republican because Democrats haven't necessarily been getting it done. You still need to align your values and beliefs with your candidate. And what that actually means is looking for Democrats who more closely align with your values, who you believe will do a better job than the Democrats who are currently in power. To say that you have to swing wildly from Democrats to Republicans just because the Democrats who are currently using have not been working fails to understand individualism, it fails to understand how actual legislature works, and it is an oversimplified view of all politics in general.
Karen, you've been voted out by the majority. Please return to your seat.
Thanks, Dave.
Yeah, thank you. He's quick. Hi, Eric. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good.
So I really want to ground this conversation more in what I believe is the greatest damage that's happening right now in America, which is the affordability problem. Okay. And I think that there's no one who has exacerbated that more than Donald Trump and MAGA Republicans. We can talk about cities specifically, but I'd like to just talk about the nation as a whole.
Sure.
If you look, I was previously an economics teacher for 12th grade, and if you looked at the three primary indicators of how the economy is doing, GDP, the labor market, and inflation, all three of those are indicating that the economy is going in a downhill direction. And that's also validated by a recent poll. 73% of people in America are saying that the economy is in poor condition. Now, if you look at the primary things that the Trump administration has done, taking away people's health care in one big, beautiful bill, the war in Iran, which has raised gas prices, that's really the thing that is making everyone really feel like, oh, affordability, I need to choose between gas and groceries. This is the big problem that we're experiencing. So I don't think that going more in a Republican direction is necessarily going to be helpful for that, because we're seeing that Donald Trump ran on a platform of making the economy better. He appealed to people, the populace, of saying, listen, I understand the struggle. They pointed the finger at immigrants, at trans people, LGBTQ people, but then he made it worse. I don't think a lot of people were expecting that, the economy could actually go in a worse direction. So I just want to say,
again,
it is much more likely for a president to make your economy worse than better.
I think there's been a certain theme that I disagree with a little bit of the premise there, but I can basically get on board what you said there. Look, if you want to create the conditions for economic success, what I think you have to do is you have to lower taxes literally for everybody, and you have to eliminate as much regulation as possible, right? When we see a massive...
There's zero evidence for this. What we see is that economically, there is a point at which there are economic gains where taxes cut in, where tax cuts do encourage the rich to do that. But the thing is that there's a limitation on it. And we don't know the exact number at which point where the sweet spot is. But the reality is that if we continue to cut taxes over and over and over again, most economists, even conservative economists, will point out to you that you are going to get diminishing returns every time you do a tax cut after a certain point. And at a certain point, you would be more economically beneficial to have a certain level of taxes. Also, the thing on regulations, get fucked, Dave Rubin. Remember when Joe Rogan destroyed you on regulations? Remember that? Remember that? No. Read any history book about what America was like before regulations. Our rivers caught on fire. Our milk had cow brains in it. Regulations are fucking important sometimes. Okay? Do you know one of the most preventable causes of death is actually pollution to our environment in the air and water? Get fucked, Dave. Get fucked.
Exodus right now. We'll use New York as an example. Since Mamdani has taken over, they have lost trillions of dollars in tax.
Can't even say it. Can't even fucking say it.
Revenue, right? So the guy wants to fund big government programs, and what he's saying is, I want to tax these people more, and then he is causing them to leave. That is what people are going to do in a free society.
Fact check. There is no evidence NYC has lost trillions in tax revenue since Mamdani took office. Official projections now show city tax collection is the tens of billions and rising from $84 billion in 2026 towards $100 billion by 2030. Employment and leasing data also do not show a mass business or billionaire exodus. Finance jobs and major office leases remain strong with limited relocations reflecting pre-existing conditions. Get fucked, Dave. Literally, the data says you're wrong. Now, to be fair, there's still time for Mamdani to fuck it up. But, not as bad as you. Man, it would be embarrassing if I mispronounced that guy's name.
Right? We have states' rights, and in Florida, say, we have no state income tax, we have low regulation. We create the conditions for economic boom, and that's what we're getting right now.
You know who else has almost no taxes? Is Texas. And my brother lives in Texas. And you know what the weird side effect of having no taxes is? Everything in Texas costs a fuck ton. Like, he literally was up here this weekend, and he took pictures of drink prices in a Dora area to send them to his girlfriend so she could see how much less they cost here.
It's not a coincidence that massive corporations, and if you look at nothing else between blue and red right now, do you know how many people...
It's really funny how long that fact check stayed up there, and with him contradicting it.
People since COVID have moved to Florida.
I want to touch on what you were talking about, Mamdani, because I don't know the answer to that, but I can say.
Okay, I'm not trying to get you. I'm not trying to get you. So 2.3 million people have moved to Florida since COVID, right? And it was largely because of COVID. Then there were economic opportunities. Now it's because there's a huge boom down there, and there's lower taxes, and DeSantis is trying to get rid of property taxes, et cetera, et cetera. You know how many people have left California since COVID?
Florida gained roughly 1.8 to 2 million residents from 2020 to 2024. Plausibly motivating factors include pandemic-era relocation, remote work flexibility, no state income tax, and initially lower relative Wait, did I pause it too soon?
Well, I would like to talk about
again, I'm not trying to.
No, there's not more. There's not more. What?
Billionaires who would leave California if there was a proposed billionaire tax, and the percent is less than 5%.
No, but the billionaires
That's
are
actually
the billionaires
a myth that
but wait,
billionaires will leave.
But the billionaires
state.
are leaving. Peter Thiel left. Elon Musk left. We can look at Ken Griffin.
What does
just
that have to do
just
with
in the last 2 weeks? Well,
Elon Musk probably left because all his California endeavors were huge fuck-ups. Like his, that fucking, what did he call it, the hyper tube or whatever? That fucking stupid one-lane tunnel under California that he made that is apparently like a potential death trap.
If you want... I got to pause there. You've been voted out by the majority.
Yeah, if you want their money, they're going to take it. All right, I started.
Thanks.
I thought that guy did relatively well, although he didn't have a lot of time.
He didn't try very hard.
Not really. Hi, Kian. Nice to meet you.
Hi, good to meet you.
I want to talk on broken schools.
I really want to get to Parker. I know Parker's in here.
You mentioned that you think schools are teaching kids what to think, not how to think. I just finished my student teaching program today. I'm getting my teacher certificate like right now.
Great.
Thank you. Everything we talk about in my program, every piece of what you guys would probably consider to be like woke critical race theory has been so beneficial for me in my student teaching and connecting with our students.
Give me an example.
Yeah, taking students' backgrounds into account when I am planning my lessons, making it actually engaging for them is like the step one if you want to teach them anything. Because if students
can you give me
an
actual example? I'm
okay,
following
for
you
sure.
here. Yeah.
Like I have noticed a lot of my students are specifically concerned about like money and being able to make money in the future. So when we're reading Romeo and Juliet, we talk about the class like dynamics at play in that play because that's something they're interested in. So when I talk about that, they can buy in and they can actually do that.
Okay.
This is something that the right would look at and say is like CRT. You're just like looking at them because they're from like poorer economic backgrounds, so they're doing all this.
Well, you haven't mentioned anything related to race. I don't have an inherent problem with what you just described right there. I don't see how that's CRT.
Because class is downstream from all forms of oppression. The purpose of oppression is to push people into lower classes. That is the function. That is why we oppress. It's because people who believe in hierarchy believe that there has to be a lower class. So yes, anything with class is inherently woke or downstream from being woke.
We're not trying to teach people what to think. We're teaching them how to think, and the way to do that is by getting them engaged. And I think we see this in that all the top states are all blue states. All the top states for education are all blue states.
Florida's number one in higher education, without question. I mean, you check the U.S. News World Report.
Higher education is college, Dave. What kind of school do you think he is teaching at?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Florida's top 3.
It's not.
We'd
it's
have
not
to
in
check.
the top 5.
Check U.S. News World Report. We can fact check it. Yeah,
Please do.
Yeah. What I would say, my basic.
Here it is. U.S. News 2024 to 2025 pre-K-12 state rankings put blue states New Jersey, Massachusetts, and Connecticut in the top 3. So the highest rated K-12 systems in the index are indeed Democratic-leaning states, but it's not strictly true that every top-ranked K-12 state is blue under all data sets. Florida is ranked number 1 in overall education, the U.S. states, ranking primarily because of the consistently stronger higher education performance, while it ranks around 22nd in pre-K through 12 sub-rankings. Not the worst, but but they didn't even land in the top 20 for pre-K through 12. Say, baby, shut the fuck up.
Situation when it comes to education is we should have school choice. We should have charter schools. We should have public schools.
There is literally no evidence that school choice improves education. In my personal mind, there should only be 2 options. Homeschool your kids yourself, because as a kid who was homeschooled, I can't step away from that and be like there weren't advantages, because there are. And also public and homeschooling. Those should be the 2 options. Private schools provide good education, but they are a drain on the public sector.
schools. We should have private schools. You shouldn't necessarily be stuck in a failing school just because of your zip code.
I'm glad you brought
want to
this
have
up,
as much
but-
choice as possible within the system. And then it also creates competition. I also, look, we have a huge
I'm sorry, I got to cut you off.
We have a
Private
huge
and charter
homeschool
schools
boom.
are not more inclusive. Do you know what the average cost of
Well, I
private
didn't
schools?
say anything about inclusive.
You said you
well,
don't want people to get stuck.
I don't want people. I want.
Okay, well,
I want
think
there to
schools
be.
should be inclusive.
Dave, what do you mean you think schools shouldn't be inclusive? Because the entire reason, like, for your argument of school choice to bear out, they would have to be inclusive. Otherwise, what would the fucking point be?
Well, it depends what you mean by inclusive. So
I
what,
think
so
that
what do you mean
everyone
by
should have
inclusive?
similar opportunities, and the way to do that is
Sure.
not with school choice. School choice.
So you want
guts public
state? You want
funding.
state-run, no competition?
I think
school.
having
Do you
public
ha-
schools
Yeah.
is the
There is no reason to have competition for education. There should be an education standard that is enforced across the country, and that should be the end of it. I think that homeschooling should exist as something that a person is allowed to do, but overall, the public school system is the way to go. I'm sorry, Dave, you suck.
best way to
Well-
get the most amount of people, and if we make public education good and we actually
well,
put
that's a
resources
hell of a,
into
that's
it.
a hell of a
I
caveat.
know, but
If-
that's
well, who's in
school
charge? Let me
choice
ask you
is
that.
what guts that.
But if you want school choice?
Yes.
School-
Where do you think
wait,
the funding goes with school choice?
Wait, I
it
think you-
comes from public education to go to private and charter
Right.
schools.
So I would have as many charter schools as possible, as many private schools as possible.
Okay, in the edit I caught something here that I didn't catch while I was watching it initially, and I have to say, I have to address this. When he starts talking about how private and charter schools take money from the public sector, Dave Rubin gets really excited and says, yes, that's why we need more charter schools. But, like, the thing about that is there's only so much money that is available. And the more charter schools that you have, the less money there is to fund public schools. This is exactly the problem. It is a siphoning of those resources. Not only that, but also the more charter schools you have, the more charter schools are competing against each other for the same money. Eventually, some selection of children is just getting fucked. Like, that's the problem with that system. Like, in competition, to fund schools via competition suggests that it is okay for children's education to fail them. Our society is only as strong as the weakest educated child in this system. Do you understand the problem here? What Dave Rubin is saying is fundamentally stupid. And I was trying so hard to think of how to say this before, and now it's finally come to me. That is the problem. When that money goes from the public sector into the private schools, it is actively siphoning off the education of other children. We do not benefit from schools competing against each other because that suggests that some children will and should and can and necessarily will be left behind. That's the problem with competing for education. Charter schools are so hit or miss. Some charter schools are really good, and then the others are literal cash scams. Like, that's the thing about charter schools, is that charter schools make it easy to put up fake schools. Some charter schools are just garbage. Some charter schools are really trying. It's not a consistent system, and for-profit schools should be considered a problem.
Possible. I would encourage homeschooling.
So you want to
I would encourage pod
eliminate
learning.
public.
Once again, I have no problem with homeschooling, because homeschooling does not have the same damaging effect to the larger education system.
Schooling.
I think actually you could. Over time, I think you could, but I'm not calling for that today. You want
Can I tell you what I really want?
state-run
Can I tell you what I
schools.
really want?
So might I recommend?
Schools have always been state.
But
Like-
has always been state-run, and how do you think that's?
Education available to the largest number of people has always been state-run, because that's how they made available to the largest number of people. It is literally the ungatekeeping of knowledge. Dave Rubin does not realize it, but what he is advocating for is gatekeeping knowledge, and specifically paywalling it.
That's working out. How
I
do you
think it
that's
was working out really great until we started gutting our funding. If we look at class sizes right now, can I
this
talk about
is-
class sizes?
Sure.
My teacher, my mentor teacher, has class sizes of up to 40 students in her classes.
So I would
That
create
is not
more-
sustainable. If we put more funding in, we can hire more teachers for those public schools to get class sizes down, which is the number one thing.
So
'Cause
you
if we
think-
have
so you
lower
think
class
just
sizes,
if we-
This is 100% true. For teaching to be effective, your teacher has to be kind of like someone you can take some level of guidance from. They have to be someone who can connect with you on some sort of interpersonal level. That is the best way to educate people. it is fundamental. If you have a class size of that size, there is no way that every student is getting the same opportunities to learn and gain insight from that professor or teacher.
Let me finish,
you think
please.
if we just put more money into these things,
I think
we
if
would
we
have
hire
better
more
results?
teachers,
Yeah.
if we hire more teachers.
It's not just that you should put more money into it. He gave a specific thing the money could be spent on to improve the system. It's not like he said just throw money at it. What he said specifically is we need more money for more teachers so that there can be lower class sizes, which all studies that I've ever seen indicate will lead to better education outcomes. If you have a study that says opposite, feel free to leave it in the comments.
Yeah.
Then we have lower class sizes. Teachers like myself can individualize our curriculum. We can take individual students into account in our lesson planning, which is something I do because I was lucky enough to have a small class size. But other classes don't have that, so it's not possible.
It strikes me that you would be quite a good teacher, likely in a pod or at a charter school or at something where it would be more one-on-one.
I'd be a good teacher anywhere, I promise.
Okay, we got
okay,
to pause there.
That's
we got
fine,
to
but
pause there. You've been voted out by the majority.
That guy brought up some really good points, and I'm not. And Dave Rubin was a disingenuous fuck about all of them. Dave Rubin is just a talking point machine. He doesn't even understand any of these things he's talking about.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Hi, how are you?
All right, good. What is one main metric that Donald Trump has made better off since
Santana and Parker are friends, so like he was chill about Parker getting it.
he got in office? Like an example would be GDP, unemployment, inflation, etc.
Well, right now, first off, the big beautiful bill was just passed last year, and it's kicking in now, right? It's kicking in now. Okay, so we're going to now see results of that, like even the tariffs. All right, so let's do tariffs. Are you for or against tariffs?
Against the universal tariff. So what's the main metric that he made better off?
What?
What's the main metric that he made better off? GDP, unemployment, inflation? Do you have any idea?
Listen. Listen.
I don't think you do.
Do you think? Hold on. So you're arguing that things economically were better under Joe Biden
At the end of his administration, absolutely.
Yeah. So can you give me an example of how?
Yeah, GDP growth was better off. Real median wage growth was better off. Inflation was better off at the end of his administration. Unemployment was better off at the end of his administration. We had the worst year of job growth in the past 4 years, just this last year under Trump's administration. The inflation, 3.8% year over year since Trump got in office. We're seeing all of those economic indicators become worse off. Can you tell me anything that he's done to make it better off? You say it's broken for Democrats. It sounds like it's broken right now under Trump.
Have you looked at the stock market?
It's worse off in terms of growth in 2025 as compared to 2024. If you look at Dow Jones and S&P 500,
they're both up quite a bit right now,
but lower rate,
and
lower
doing,
rate,
and
lower
doing
growth
quite
rate.
well. You know, things don't happen overnight. So Donald Trump, for example, things don't. That's true. That's true. There's reality. There's actual reality. Like you.
The GDP growth, let's see here, GDP growth, Trump 2025, 2.2%, Biden 2.4%. Inflation, Trump 3.8%, Biden 3%. Unemployment, Trump, April of 2026, 4.3%, Biden 4.1%. 2025 was Trump's worst non-COVID year for job growth that has been determined to be true apparently. The S&P 500 returned 16.39% in 2025, which was a decline from 23% to 24% growth seen in 2024, meaning that it went up, but not by the same, but by a lesser degree.
You put policies into place, and they don't just kick in the next day, right?
Well,
Donald
it's been
Trump,
a year and a half.
Donald Trump said when the tariffs.
He said in a year,
hold on,
prices would be down 50% for electricity. Are they up right now?
Hold on. Donald Trump, when he brought in the whole idea of tariffs, would you agree that for the last 4 decades we have had completely lopsided trade deals?
Parker looking at him like a murderer looks at their prey over here.
With all of these countries where they're tariffing and taxing our products that go to them, and they're getting sweet deals when they sell to the American public. Do you think that's a fair?
Didn't Trump address that with the USMCA, but he went against that when he didn't extend it through the context of his new trade agreement because he wanted to place tariffs on all of them again. And his tariffs that he's placing on are destroying our relationships with countries all around the world.
No,
it's costing. Wait, please finish.
When you say destroying relationships,
it's costing consumers here in this country. A Federal Reserve report just came out, indicated that we'd be below pre-pandemic levels of inflation if Donald Trump never imposed the tariffs in the first place. Meaning we'd be able to bring down interest rates and be able to increase investment within our economy and bring more jobs back.
Hold on. When you say
Dave Rubin's brain literally cannot function with how fast Parker talks.
Destroying our relationships with other countries.
2026 Federal Reserve analysis finds that Trump-era renewed tariffs have raised core good prices by about 3.1% and added roughly 0.8 percentage points to core PCE inflation, meaning inflation today would likely be much closer to the Fed's 2% target without those tariffs. Fact check confirms.
Well, other countries were getting sweet deals, right? If Canada, which was charging crazy taxes and tariffs on our products that were going to them, and we were basically charging nothing back, how can we sell to their market? So if they're upset with us, right? So China is a little upset with right now. Upset with us. We're trying to get fairer deals. Canada, obviously under Carney, is upset with us because we're trying to get fairer deals. Donald Trump is trying to reset things. We were basically the world's piggy bank for the last, it's really basically post-World War II, and Donald Trump is trying to reverse that so that we...
If we were the world's piggy bank, how come we had so much foreign debt? That means that we were using them as a kind of piggy bank. Also, to be fair, foreign debt is actually overinflated by most people as a talking point. But that's besides the point. The point is that Dave Rubin can't even back up the thing that he's saying about us being their piggy bank.
We will have fairer deals. If you told me that it was just zero across the board and there were no tariffs going any which way, I could completely get on board that. But as long as countries are going to treat us unfairly, often...
there is literally an international organization that we could have gone to at any point if we felt like we were being taken advantage of in this way.
While we foot the bill for their defense or a series of other things and we give them foreign aid and everything else, well then we should have...
Foreign aid is about American soft power. It doesn't make us poor, it makes us internationally successful. And also, no one who cares about that shit ever wants to spend money on America anyways.
Equal playing field going both directions.
What better deal did he get?
What?
What better deal did he get?
What do you mean? Several countries have already come back and we've...
Name any of the conditions that made the trade better off. Give me the specifics.
Canada, I think they had something like a 60% tariff on cheese, literally on cheese, that was being sold from America, from Wisconsin.
I think Parker's going to nail this, but let me just say here, Canada had conditional tariffs, which meant that they only kicked in once Canada had bought a certain amount of American cheese. This was done to protect Canada's dairy market. And it didn't just apply to cheese. I think it covered all dairy. And the rates may not have been the same on different dairy products. I'm not sure. I'm sure Parker knows what he needs to know for this.
Wisconsin to Canada, and that basically is zero right now. That's one little example. I think it's zero right now.
Okay, so that's a targeted tariff, not a universal tariff. Can you name one country that had a universal tariff?
Canada did not have a flat 60% tariff on U.S. cheese. That's now basically 0%. Under USMCA, U.S. cheese gets expanded duty-free access within quotas. But Canada still applies steep overquote tariffs of about 245, I thought his number was low, 45% on cheese. The protection was not reduced from 60 to 0. And from the sound of it, they still have these tariffs, if I'm understanding this correctly.
Tariff on us?
I think there are several countries that
Name
did.
one.
I think there are several countries
Name
that
one.
did. Honestly, I'm not sure, but I think there are several countries that did.
Okay, so what?
I have been trying to figure this out for a long time. If you know a country that had a tariff on us prior to Donald Trump, please send me some sort of evidence of that, because I cannot figure I have the right thing to put into Google, and I'm beginning to think that they don't exist. Trump lies.
That zeroed out the tariffs. I think Argentina did, if I'm not mistaken. I think Israel did. I think a few other countries did.
Why don't we put a proportional tariff on them, the same that...
All right, the United States introduced broad reciprocal tariffs, and reciprocals in air quotes for anyone who's just listening, in 2025, a baseline of 10% and higher levels for deficit countries that applied to many trading partners, including Argentina and Israel. While those countries still largely operate under the normal WTO or FTA-based schedule towards U.S. goods, with ongoing negotiations to reduce, not universalize, tariffs. So if I'm reading this correctly, it sounds like they are reciprocal in name alone.
That they put on us so that we can negotiate that down. It doesn't seem like Trump's looking for that.
What do you mean? That's exactly what Trump did.
Let me just clarify. The tariffs are being paid by our consumers. So Trump, while trying to get his deals, is making inflation go up and making it worse off for you at the grocery store, worse off for you at the gas pump, worse off for you when you're trying to buy a house. So can you, again, like you could mention before, can you name one metric that Trump's made better off since he got in office?
I'm just not sure of the premise of what you're saying, because do you think we should just have free trade with everybody without any... penalization.
I thought you were
going
like
either
libertarian.
way.
Don't you want free trade?
No, that's what I'm saying. So,
Okay.
so I think you're agreeing with me. What Donald Trump is trying to do.
You don't get free trade by doing the opposite of free trade, Dave.
Overall decrease tariffs.
He's trying.
The Supreme Court did more to decrease tariffs than he did.
It doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah,
They're
you keep saying that.
negotiating these things.
Have we done anything in his office yet?
Yes.
What?
Yes. Scott Besson every day is negotiating with these other countries. You think that
I
he
think
can
the negotiations are worse off with the JCPOA. We have less political concessions right now than we had a decade ago under the JCPOA. So tell me, what political concessions have we got with the war with Iran since Trump started it?
Well, right now, Iran literally exports no oil. Every day they are losing $500 million.
Parker is a professional and aggressive debater. Dave Rubin is not prepared.
So what you can do over time is you have a military.
Iran is not exporting no oil, and it's not losing $500 million a day. Recent tanker tracking data cited by Wall Street Journal, Bloomberg, and others show Iran exporting roughly 1.5 to 2 million barrels a day and earning around 100 to 150 million dollars in oil revenue per day. Ouch.
Military adventure, which we had 40 days, which we took out their Air Force and their entire Navy and everything else, and now we completely control their
None of those
economy.
were concerned. What's the political concession since the beginning of the war?
What's the political concession from Iran since the beginning of the war?
Yes, name one.
Well, we're having negotiations with them right now.
And we haven't gotten anything?
We're having negotiations with them right now.
So nothing?
Well, we're in a negotiation process.
We've been in a war for 2.5 months now. We got no political concessions.
A war for 2.5 months? How long do you think wars are supposed to take?
A decade ago, we had a limitation in terms of them enriching uranium to 3.7%. That was going to be in place until 2030. It would still be in place to this day.
We started
the JCPOA.
We started with this. They admitted they were enriching past that point.
After the JCPOA.
Steve Witkoff said 2 or 3 days before
Dave just won't acknowledge the reality of that statement.
The war started, that they admitted they were enriching more. Also,
when Trump
you have
pulled
to,
out of the agreement, and then the original strike that we made a year ago,
you also have
they haven't been building up
You also
since
have to go on the
according
assumption.
To the DNI,
Why is it that?
Dave, you are getting cooked. You are getting cooked, and it makes sense. Parker moves at hyper speed, and Dave Rubin moves like the Tin Man when he's not oiled.
Why would you believe the Iranian theocratic regime? Why would you believe that they are doing right?
That's the director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, appointed by Donald Trump. So explain to me why you don't believe her.
Listen, Marco Rubio.
Why don't you believe her?
Hold on.
Why don't you believe the entire U.S. intelligence committee? Why do you think they're all lying?
So, are you saying that Donald Trump just ignored the entire U.S. intelligence community?
Yes,
no,
literally, that's what he did.
No, he didn't.
Yes.
That's okay. So that's an interesting disconnect that we have. I mean, Marco
Then why
Rubio.
do they contradict each other?
Marco Rubio very clearly laid out what was going on here. And by the way, Donald Trump and every president for the last 40 years has said that Iran will not get a nuclear bomb. Right? Every president has said that. Joe Biden said no. Remember, Kamala Harris said no
Yeah,
or
the
don't.
JCPOA
Right?
limited it to a greater extent.
Okay.
Why didn't you address that point?
Again, you are going on the assumption that you can trust these random inspectors that are going into these places.
IAEA?
Literally,
They're random inspectors.
all right.
The IAEA is the International Atomic Energy.
With all due respect, I think that trusting some of these international things that they somehow have America's interests or the West's interests in mind, I think is a kind of.
I don't know what Trump's administration is doing, but we are in fact the controlling stake of most international organizations because we have the most weapons and the most money. We are almost always involved in some major way with these organizations. Dave, shut the fuck up.
Kind of faulty, it's just a faulty premise, I would say.
So the international actors that are lying. They don't actually have legitimate surveillance over their nuclear enrichment facilities?
No, they don't.
Okay, so
they don't.
You think
they have. What do you mean they were buried?
Based on what, Dave? Can you prove these statements?
They were buried under mountains. They were buried underground.
All right, I'm gonna take a break here because I can feel myself getting too tired to be witty. Mainly because Dave Rubin is exhausting. Jesus Christ, he's not even good at it. You know what I mean? He's not good at this. Jubilee is going to actively destroy the credibility of a number of conservatives if they keep going in this direction. Look, here's the point. Dave Rubin is dumb. Dave Rubin is uneducated. It sounds genuinely like Dave Rubin might just be in a real tight fucking echo chamber. Like, he just didn't know about so many things that it's kind of alarming. Well, this has not changed my opinion of Dave Rubin. Actually, it has validated my opinion of Dave Rubin. That he is dumb and slow. I feel bad calling him slow. In fact, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I feel bad making fun of him because it feels ableist now to watch him and make fun of him. Dave Rubin, as far as I'm aware, has never been diagnosed with anything. But that doesn't make it right. I think I will probably record a part 2. Yes, I will record part 2 because I am interested in his answers to these, even if everyone's tired of this topic by then. But anyways, thank you for tuning in, especially if you watched it all the way to here. Please consider liking, subscribing, and commenting. And yeah, tune in next time, I guess. Have a wonderful whatever, wherever, whoever you are. Yes, even you, Dave Rubin. Even you have a nice day.
Special thanks to bscove17, a supporter of this program. If you would like to support this program like bscove17, you know where that button is.